Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you, one and all, this evening to the question and answer session for my Psychic Development series. This is the Anastasi system of psychic development that we're going to be talking about this evening. And I've got to tell you, I am extremely excited about this because you folks ask amazing questions. And one of the things I like most to do is to answer those questions. Every time we do one of these question and answer sessions, I find myself coming away with more information myself that I've gained through answering those questions. So let me tell you how this is going to go this evening. And this way you're going to be able to get your answers. Folks, I'm here as long as you need me this evening. I want to get these questions answered. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview myself about the system. Not enough to bore you, but enough to give you some insight. And then I'm going to open the floor to questions. You'll see that my assistant Lisa is in the chat room. So if you're shy and you don't want to ask your question verbally, you can always type it into the section on your side of your screen or below your screen where it says questions, and she will read that question out loud so that I can answer it. And if you want to ask a question verbally, click that little button that has a hand on it, and that will raise your hand so that Lisa will be able to call on you. We're only going to be using first names. We're not going to be identifying anyone, so you can ask any question, and we're not going to be letting the world know who you are unless somebody's really good at identifying voices and listens to the whole question and answer class that we're doing this evening. They won't identify who you are, so don't feel shy about asking your questions. I have experienced in my lifetime that there is no foolish or stupid question. If you are thinking it, if it's a question in your mind, someone else on the call is having the same question and is going to be very grateful that you asked it for them. So any question goes relative to the Anastasi system that we're going to be talking about this evening. Of course, I'm sure all of you are looking at the screen right now and you're seeing this certificate of completion. I'm imagining in my mind that all of you have taken all 6 levels of the Anastasi system and completed them and really achieved enormous amounts of benefit from them and received the certificate. Why is the certificate here? Because I needed to put a graphic here and also because it lets you know this is a certificate system. Are we affiliated with any major university? The answer to that is no. I'm sure that was in someone's mind. And the reason for that is, honestly, to affiliate with a university, whether they're online or offline, really means that you've got to comply with all of their traditions and expectations and how they approach things and how they teach things. And I've been teaching this series, this system, various components, parts of it, for just about 40 years at this point. And I know what works. So it's far better for me to give you the certificate that you've completed the Anastasi system of psychic development the way I teach it, and that we know that you've got that material and you're benefiting from it, and it's making huge sweeping changes and transformations in your life. And I didn't have to adjust everything to fit into some curriculum of some college. So now you understand my reason. I've always been a black sheep. You know, it's interesting. I've always been shy. I've always been the kid in the back of the classroom, afraid to ask their questions. And I've never been the one to push myself forward. And I hated to look different because I didn't want to stand out or to be different. And yet, here I am. I'm probably the most different person that you'll ever encounter in your life. And I am definitely the black sheep because I do things my own way. And that said, the Anastasi system grew. It started in my living room in 1979 when I had some of my clients coming to me and saying, Sandy, We want to learn to do what you do. And I said, oh, it's easy, because I figured it was easy for everybody. And I held my first psychic development class in my living room. It was one night. It went for about 3 hours. And in 3 hours, I threw everything at them that I now teach in psychic development levels 1, 2, and 3. And out of that group, I actually had a couple of people who were successful in doing a lot of those things, very naturally gifted people. And incidentally, I believe people who are naturally gifted are people who bring their talents and abilities in with them from other lifetimes where they worked hard to develop them. And most of the people who were in the group that evening didn't get it, but were awestruck and decided to stick with it, and eventually over time did learn it. Because after that night, I realized that you couldn't just throw these things at someone and say, wow, here's how you do it, bam, do it. I realized that there had to be a system of instruction, that there was a pattern of unfoldment, a pattern of learning that people have to follow to be able to unfold and expand their intuitive abilities. And so over time, I've got to say, with a lot of help from my students, trial and error, I put together the 1 through 3, which is really teaching you to use your telepathy and your empathy and remote viewing and clairvoyance. I think of them as the lower psychic abilities, the ones that really connect you to the world and the planet around you and give you the opportunity to live a better life, and also open that door to your higher self and higher consciousness, where you're able to be more in touch and more centered and more grounded as you move through life. So we worked on them first. And then it was in the early 90s when my friend John Edward began to do more with mediumship. And he had been one of my students back when he was about 15 years old. That was way back in the 80s. And he began to send people to me because he said, you teach this stuff, Sandy. And at that point, you see, I wasn't teaching mediumship, but he was encountering people with real issues, real problems. And he was sending me people, not so much to learn mediumship, but to learn to control their psychic abilities. And I applaud that. I think he was very ahead of his time, very, very aware to recognize that people had that need. So my student list grew. And because he was a medium, I now had a whole lot of students who were saying, Sandy, we want to learn mediumship. We want to learn channeling. We want to learn what's the difference between the kind of channeling you do or the kind of channeling that someone does when they go into trance, like Edgar Cayce did. And I said, well, and I avoided it for a while, I've got to tell you that, because it's serious stuff. You really have to go into that with a lot of protection and a lot of knowledge in order to do it safely. But I did finally develop the top 3 levels of the class, and I did that with the help of my business partner and marriage partner at the time. His name is John Mayers. And that levels 4 through 6 were developed to take you through channeling and mediumship. So the Anastasi system starts assuming that you know nothing at all, nothing. And it teaches you how to record your dreams, how to understand what they mean, how to connect with your higher consciousness, how to recognize when a thought that comes into your head belongs to you and not someone else, how to recognize when a feeling that comes to you belongs to you and it's not someone else. So levels 1 through 3 teach you all of the tools that you need to develop your intuition to its greatest capacity that you're capable of in this lifetime. It gives you the tools, and it also gives you a system and things that you can actually bring into your life to do that you will benefit from all of your life by applying and utilizing in every aspect of your life. And then if you choose, we give a certificate, by the way, for just completing levels 1 through 3, because many people only want that part of the class. And then we go on to levels 4 through 6, if you choose to go on, where you're going to now learn channeling and mediumship. And I have to tell you, no matter what you're learning anywhere in the system, levels 1 through 6, I am incorporating energetic protections that I'm teaching you to employ so that you can learn safely. Even online, I create a safe room. Those of you who are sensitive can already feel it just on this question and answer session with me. I employ what I think of as a safe zone that protects my students while they are learning. People need to feel safe and confident and comfortable to be able to relax enough to allow themselves to really explore, guess what, who they are. Because that's what the Anastasi system of psychic development teaches you. It doesn't just teach you how to utilize your intuitive ability. It teaches you who you really are at the core of your own self. And when we get to levels 4 through 6, and you're beginning to open up to an energetic world that goes far beyond the physical world we live in, to encounter people who've passed on, people who maybe have never been physical, guides and angels, and be able to do this work safely and get accurate information that allows you to stay completely and fully grounded and live a normal, healthy human life and not go off to Never Never Land because you didn't have protection and you encountered something dangerous that took you to the wrong place. This is what the Anastasi system does. It teaches you to develop all of these skills and abilities to their highest potential that you are capable of. And when you're completed, or when you've completed the system, you will be capable of far more than you're even capable of now. So it's a consistent, continual development that happens. Now you get an idea of why this is so important to me. The human race is opening right now. We are developing our higher intuition. It's already happening. But without direction, are we developing it in a healthy way? Are we developing it with the correct morals and values? Are we developing it within a protected space where we can feel safe and comfortable and allow ourselves to explore who we really are? That's what the Anastasi system does. And it's why it is my life mission in life to help you to develop and expand your intuitive self. And I've talked long enough. I'd like to hear your questions. Lisa, who is the first person on your list?
Okay, I'm going to try to read this out in between. Sorry, my neighbors are loud and my dog is barking. Okay, this is from Amy. How can you better start to hear spirits that you see?
That's interesting. I'm kind of laughing to myself because most of the people on this call would have been writing that question in the exact opposite way. They'd be saying, when can you start to see spirits that you can hear or that you can feel? So, we're talking about really wonderful gifts, okay? And this question relates to the top 3 classes in the system, not the bottom 3 classes. So one thing I want you to understand right off, when people come into my classes in level 1, I'm teaching you things like meditation, balancing and centering, grounding, clearing, psychic protection, how to use your telepathy, how to use your clairvoyance. I'm teaching you the basics. And I ask that you not do any channeling or do any mediumship until, in fact, I ask that you shut it down if you've got it open, until you've got the basics and the good, solid grounding that's going to allow you to be safe and protected in everything that you do. So we're talking about something here, I want everyone to understand, that's jumping. We're jumping ahead. but I'm going to still answer this question because I said I would, but we're jumping over those basics, okay? We're going to assume you already have them. We're going to assume that Amy has this ability to see spirits, and she's gone through level 1 through 3, and she's done her best to ignore them so that she can concentrate on developing those lower psychic abilities that are going to give her the tools to hear them. Okay? So I hope you just heard that conundrum there, Amy. In psychic development level 1, 2, and 3, I'm teaching you how to develop your third eye, which is the ability to see energy. And you apparently already have that third eye somewhat awakened, so you're occasionally seeing spirit. We're also teaching you clairaudience, which is how to hear energy. We're teaching you telepathy, how to hear thoughts in your head and discern them from a thought that's not yourself. We're teaching you how to hear telepathically your higher self and your guides. That's very important. And we're doing it in the closed system of not listening to spirits out there. Because you see, the spirit out there, we don't know if it's safe to talk to them yet. So we're not going to listen to them until we've got everything in place on that lower level where we really can turn our psychic abilities, our telepathy, and our empathy on and off at will. We can recognize, this is important, where the empathy is coming from. That's important. Just last evening, I guess it was New Year's Day, I was hit by a tremendously intense sense of depression. Folks, I'm not prone to depression. Many other emotions, but not depression. But I was hit by a tremendous sense of depression. And I thought, I'm going to center myself in balance, because it actually felt like mine. I was like, what am I depressed about? And a lot of you have probably had that experience. What am I feeling this from? And I really got into my centered space and let go all that wasn't me. And then I followed that emotion back to its source. And the reason it was so intense is that actually in my life it had 3 sources. 2 of them were people who were physically living. And one of them is a person who's on the other side, who's really depressed because she's not with her family. Okay? So here I am feeling as if this depression that's hitting me with such intensity belongs to me. And as soon as I tracked it back, it was like, oh, that's not mine. And I just, poof, let it go, all gone. So, Amy, in learning to hear the people you're seeing, you're not just going to learn to hear them, you're going to learn to feel them. You're going to learn to feel their emotions. You're going to learn to hear what their words would be. And incidentally, some people in spirit actually have words and some don't. Because in the spirit world, it is much, much easier to project a feeling or an emotion than it is words. Words are something we people here in the physical world utilize. In the energetic world, they just take so darn much time that it usually takes a spirit who has been on the other side a long time, or who was very good with words, or who has a very close relationship with you to be able to give those words to you. So right now, I would look for, what are you feeling? What are you receiving from that person in other than words? And then interpret that and say, okay, well, this is what this feeling would mean to me in words. Meanwhile, though, until you've gone through levels 1 through 3, and you've really learned to control those lower level psychic abilities and learned to ground yourself, center yourself, connect yourself to your higher self so that you're very balanced, your chakras are balanced. We teach all that in that level 1, 2, and 3. And we also teach protection for all of those things. Until you've learned all that, making connection to people in spirit can be dangerous. Because you see, you don't know who they are. Okay? In essence, connecting with somebody in spirit, if you don't physically recognize who the person is, it would be like taking a walk, through Central Park at night without a flashlight, without any kind of weapon, without any kind of companionship, and doing it when you're half dressed in the middle of the summer, and then feeling angry when somebody jumped out of the bushes and mugged you. Okay? The world on this side of the veil is filled with the same kind of people that the world on the other side of the veil is filled with. And until you really learn how to feel that energy and work with it and recognize it, you put yourself at risk to walk in a dangerous place. And that's about the most simple way that I can possibly phrase it. But everyone who's on this call, if you're here because you want to develop channeling and mediumship ability, yes, I can teach you that. Everyone has that ability. It is not so hard. It really isn't hard to do. It's difficult to do it safely. Okay? And if you're going to do it, I want you to do it if that's what your desire is, but study the Anastasi system, and particularly levels 1 through 3, before you launch into those higher levels. And if you don't study it with Sandy, if you don't get that foundation from me, then go to your local New Age store or your local New Age church or spiritualist church and get the foundation that's going to allow you to do that safely. Just don't jump into it. Too many psychics do that, and initially they're brilliant, and a couple of years later they're washed out because they got used by entities on the other side that weren't healthy. Okay, I hope that answered your question, Amy. And Lisa, who is next? Seems like everybody's putting their question into the chat room. Folks, if you raise your hand, you can talk to me. Lisa will call on you. So that's up to you if you want to talk or not.
I know I'm trying to keep up with everybody in the chat room, and it's just overwhelming. So I'm going to call on somebody who has their hand up, and that would be Sandra. Sandra, you're unmuted.
Hello, Sandy.
Hi, Sandra.
My question is receiving visits from people who have passed over in your dreams a form of mediumship?
You know, it is. One of the things that we do in psychic development levels 1 through 3 is we teach people to better understand their dreams, dream interpretation, you might want to see it, and we teach them to recognize that dreams can be on a very mundane, dealing with physical issues that you're concerned with in day-to-day life. At the same time, they can carry a message from the higher self. At the same time, you can be dealing with somebody on the other side who's one of your guides or who's a person who's passed on. So in the dream state, we do all of those things. And one of the nifty things about dreams is that the things that happen to you in the dream state, unless you are consciously dreaming, and that's possible too, that's something else we talk about, but if you're not consciously in control of that, if you're just in that normal dream state, you're automatically protected. Because you see, you're not seeking something out. You're not going after it. You're not opening up and saying, hey, come to me, come and get me. Okay? What's happening is somebody that knows you or has a message for you, or that has some similar information in their life as you, or somebody who wants to just say hello, I love you, pops into your dream. They initiated the contact, not you. And that makes all the difference, you see. When I try to initiate a contact with somebody who's in the unseen world, I'm opening up without defense, without knowing what I'm doing, and I can allow just about anything to come in, because once that person or entity on the other side knows I'm ready and willing, whew, bam, and they're in. So don't ever say yes to somebody who pops into your world when you're awake and says, hey, I want to come in and talk to you. Okay, protect yourself first. And then if your guides allow it, say, okay, well, maybe now, and by then the person's probably gone. Meanwhile, in the dream state, you see your higher self and your guides are already there. Guess what? You all have them. So in the dream state, they are not going to be allowing some negative nasty to come in, not unless you do something to say, hey, yeah, come and get me. I don't know if that's making sense, Sandra. So the short answer to your question is absolutely yes. In the dream state, you can be an unwitting medium. Sure, when you're talking to somebody who's in an energetic form and you're still in the physical, That's mediumship. Okay? So yes. Is it safe to do? Do you say, oh my God, am I going to be in trouble because this happens and dead people come to me when I sleep? I would be willing to bet you that everybody on the call this evening has had that happen to them in their dreams at least once or twice in their lives. And most of the time they've been real happy that they dreamed about somebody that they loved that has passed on. Okay? Did that answer your question, Sandra?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. Yeah, and that was a really good question because it happens to us all, and frankly, I do not want you getting the ubiquitous you, all of you, I don't want you getting off this call being afraid to go to sleep at night because you might have a visitation from a spirit. Now, one of the things that I love in psychic development is that as we get more familiar with our dreams, and everybody here, record your dreams, record them, because dreams are so important. They're training wheels. It's like literally like riding a bike. In our dreams, we can fly. In our dreams, we can be telepathic. In our dreams, we can connect with our guides. We do things in our dreams that we wouldn't believe we are capable of in our physical world. And it's training wheels because we can do these things when we dream, and that's going to help to prepare us for being able to do them when we're awake. So, good stuff.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And who's next, Lise?
Another victim. I just love this. Alrighty, we're going to go to Julia. Julia, you're self-muted. Can you unmute your mic? There you
Hello?
go.
Hi there, Julia.
Hello. I don't know how to do this. Do I just ask you what I'm curious about?
What's your question?
First off, I want to thank you for making me feel comfortable about being an empath. I didn't understand what that was as a child. As I've gotten older, I get why I feel what I feel when I'm around people.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was younger, I was able to dream quite vividly. I remembered my dreams, colors, smells, so on. In 2010, I had an extreme trauma that left me with PTSD. I have no memory for the first 2 years after that moment. So I don't dream as well anymore. Does that mean I won't ever connect with my higher self or my spirit guides? Because everyone talks about how important dreams are and what you see in dream journals. And I keep a dream journal, and like maybe every 6 weeks I'm jotting something down in there, and I'm like, okay, this isn't a journal. This isn't even a blog. It's just nothing. I'm like, I'm not getting it. But I'm doing everything else. I'm listening to you, girl. I'm working on it. I'm talking to spirit, God, and the universe, and asking for them dreams, and they're just not bringing them. So, is there still hope for someone like me that
Oh,
can't?
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm relating to you here. When a lot of people don't know this about me, but up until I was about 27 years old,
Mhm.
I couldn't remember a single dream.
Oh wow.
In fact, I believed that other people dreamed and I just didn't dream. A lot of people feel that way because they don't remember their dreams. When
Wow.
I went to sleep, I actually had the feeling of diving into a black hole. So my sleep was so deep, and I held myself there. In order to, all dreams, this is a little scientific, but dreams happen, the REM dream that you remember, that happens, REM means rapid eye movement, that happens
Yeah.
when your mind is in alpha state. And believe it or
Yes.
not, alpha state is very close to the surface. It's just below waking state, okay?
Mhm.
So you have to be close to waking to be able to remember those dreams. Well, what I was doing is I was going to sleep and diving deep into delta sleep so that I wouldn't have any dreams. Okay?
Huh. Well, see, that would have been so weird for me because, like I said, me being so connected to emotional things and feelings,
Exactly.
and then all of a sudden, just that part of you is gone, and you think,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I've accepted, and I love the fact that you have science behind
Yeah.
what you say. I love knowledge like that, and I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think it gives a lot of hope for us out there that have had it so passionately. Like I said, I could remember smells. I was a very vivid dreamer, but then it was just gone one day, and you feel like you lost a part of yourself, but there's still hope. I mean, I'm
I have confidence.
raising that vibration to get there, girl. I'm raising it.
Just hang in there. Just hang in there. you know.
I will. Hey, I'm a fighter. I got this.
See, at least you know. You may not remember the specific trauma that produced the
I
PTSD.
do. I do. It was the day. It was the day I was told my husband died of 24 years. I
Uh,
lost my best friend, and I remember it like, and what really is makes me hard on myself is that like I can remember each moment I was with his body when I tried to climb in the coffin. Silly things you should. I don't remember bathing, eating, talking, driving, just your mundane things. I mean, I went back at one point and even kind of asked a few people, was I polite? Was I nice? Did y'all just shove clothes in my hands and stick me in the shower? Because I just, and, which the doctors, and I went into reading about it so I could understand why the brain did what it did. And the brain doesn't know a stop and go point. It just knows this is the trauma, and everything from that point back, you're not going to remember so well because there was that period of grief that you have to, go through, because I was like, I wondered, did my husband think I was funny? Did my husband think I was a pain? Because you don't remember. It takes a lot more of your memory than people realize. And so then I had to one day say, you know what? That's okay. I trust in, God and the universe, and it's going to be okay. And I'm sure he thought I was funny. I wasn't crazy. And it's all going to be okay. But I just want to know that even if I never achieve that dream state, because I listen to alpha waves all the time when I'm awake, like a dorkfish, but I do it. Cleaning house, I'm alpha waving out.
I can guarantee you that you will. But
Yeah.
and thank you for sharing with me the reason
Thank you.
for the PTSD.
Sorry.
No, I get it. We have to. By the way, what you just did is important. We have to talk about these things. A lot of times, folks, it's when you talk about something that all of a sudden you get a beat on it. It makes sense to you because it came out of your mouth. Okay.
Well, it's funny. It helped me to understand the one question I come up against a lot of widowers is the whys. And I understood it, and I get it now. And so I'm just wanting to get myself to the best vibrational space and place I can be, because I want to go out there and help other widowers know, trust me, the devil has a restraining order against me. I've been there, done that. And if I can make it, you can make it. I got this. You got this. We got this. We are one. Now, because we are love and light.
Let me explain a little bit about psychically what was going on here. And this is the reason. I can give you the answer, okay? This is the reason why you haven't been remembering your dreams as well as you used to.
Why?
It's because you and your husband, not everybody does this in relationships, by the way, but what you described that you went through when he first died, etc., you and your husband had a very, and I don't mean this term in a bad way, but you had a very codependent, very interconnected.
Oh, yes, we did. We did. You're right.
So you weren't two separate people in your relationship. You were one person. And when you were remembering your dreams, and when you were doing all the psychic work you were doing back then, you were doing it not just using your own energy, you were using his energy that you were interfaced with. Now, when he passed to the other side, you and he can still have a relationship, and incidentally, in the psychic development system, you will learn how to do that, but it's a different relationship. And it's not a relationship that allows you to utilize his energy in a physical sense as an extension of your own. So all the things you used to do, and this has nothing to do with PTSD, hon, it has to do with energy.
Yeah, exactly.
All the things you used to do when your vibration was combined with his, you now have to relearn when it's only your own.
All right. That makes sense. Because I understood that his death was needed to make me grow up and be my own woman. As bad as that might sound to people, because I understood. I was lost in his shadow. You're dead on. Yeah. I was over codependent. There wasn't a Julia and a Chuck. It was just I was his wife. I was this mother, whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, the beautiful woman I have grown into due to the loss of him. But I understand that was something that was preordained in my life to help me be who I'm supposed to be. Had that not happened, I would have stayed this menial, unhappy, having to redo this life again and again on the bad stuff because I didn't get my lesson.
So back to your question. Am I ever going to learn to be able to remember my dreams again with the frequency and the ease that I used to? The answer is yes. When you get out of your own way, when you stop wanting to integrate all of your abilities with another human being that's not flesh anymore, okay? When you want yourself to be whole and complete. And I'm glad you brought this up, because guess what? The exercises that you learn in the Anastasi system teach you to heal your energy field. Literally, you heal yourself from the inside out. You heal yourself. You become whole. You become that person that's unflappable, that doesn't get taken by the wind. This is why this kind of study is so very important to people who are empathic. Very, very important. So thank you.
Because I thank you so much for helping me with that. Thank you. I don't want to take up any more of your time. You have a blessed evening. Thank you.
Successful. Okay. And Lisa, who's next on our list?
All right, my next little victim is going to be Pamela. Pamela, you are unmuted.
Hello, Pamela. Hello.
Sandy?
Yes, yes, I hear you.
I wasn't expecting to speak. I'm really not great with speaking. Hi, thank you very much for letting me be here. I posted my question on the chat that I'm one of those people that accidentally let a bad one in, and will your class help me, or am I just screwed?
This class will help you, and you're talking about the bad spirit, okay? I didn't say this.
Sort of.
Let me take about 15 minutes back step here. When I was introducing the system, I didn't realize it when I first added on the channeling and mediumship part of the system to expand it to what it is today. That the reason I was doing it, and this is kind of important, and I don't think my friend John Edward even knows this, but way back when, like in the early 2000s, John Edward was on television, and he had, I think his first, it's been so long ago. The first show was, I know the second one was Cross Country. It was the first show that was on. It was on Sci-Fi Channel. It was on every single night of the week, and half of the United States, in fact, most of the United States, was going to sleep every night listening to him talk to dead people. And what they didn't realize was happening is that in learning, when you watch somebody do something enough, it's sort of like the skill, you absorb it. And we had people that had never had any mediumship ability before in their whole life, weren't even interested in it, all of a sudden seeing dead people in their kitchen and getting messages for people that they never had met. So, what do you do with these people? It's like, I don't even want to be psychic, and now I'm a medium. So I had a whole lot of people turning up in my classes that I thought were just going to be teaching people how to develop the skill, who were saying to me, Sandy, how do I shut it down? How do I control it? What the heck is this that's happening? So you are not unique. I know it feels terrible. It feels like you've crawled into a black hole. It feels like you can't get out of it. It feels like you don't know how to shut this thing out that's come in. And guess what? Of course you can. Of course you can. Now, I can't do it for you. Somebody else can't do it for you, but you can do it for you. And you can do it very successfully. And that's a big part of what my classes are about. A big, big part. I'm going to teach you control. Okay? I'm going to teach you.
That would be what I need.
That's right. You are going to have, you're going to be the person who has the strength to say yes or no. And also to recognize, see, there's a good thing in everything, okay? Because of the experience you've had, you will be capable of recognizing energies as different from yours. And when you don't like them, you'll be able to kick them right out, because you'll know it's not your energy and doesn't belong there, okay? But you'll be doing that all by yourself. Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. That was not a bad question. It was a good question, and a question a lot of other people on this chat, on this call have. I know it. So thank you for having the courage to ask it. And Lisa, who's next?
Well, I'm going to take one out of the chat room now for WC that says, what does it mean when the spirit world crosses over into the real world in a dream?
Well, I think that's kind of cool. How do you like that for a response? But then that's my response to all of it. I just think we live in the most marvelous universe, okay? I think you were getting a message from your guides. You see, I think that's exactly what's happening in our world. I think that, we're getting more and more people all the time who see spirit, hear spirit. We're also getting more and more people who are empathic, who are picking up the feelings of other people. And I know I don't want to get negative here, but I want you to understand how strongly, how powerfully psychic energy and people's psychic centers and psychic awareness opening is affecting our world. Half of these people who are, picking up guns and shooting other people don't even know why they've done it. They heard a voice that said, do this. Or they felt a moment of rage they couldn't control and then said, I don't know where that even came from. Okay? And what's making people so super sensitive, empathically, telepathically, hearing voices, seeing spirits, seeing the whole things that don't even exist on the physical plane, is that our world, you see, is evolving. In an energetic sense, the entire planet, not just you and me, but even the animals, the plants, everything that's on this planet is in the process of evolving in a way that makes it a little more subtle, a little less in the physical plane. And that's allowing people from the spirit world to make connections that they could not make before with average, ordinary individuals that couldn't make those connections before. And it's my belief that this is going to get much more widespread before, in fact, I don't even know that it's ever going to go away. I think we're just going to get used to directing our sight into the physical because that's where it is, but know that we can talk to our relative we care about when we're in our sleep or even in our own mind, and that the relative will hear. I'm thinking that that veil between the worlds, if you want to see it that way, sometimes it's easier to understand it in that language. The veil is becoming very thin. It used to only get thin at certain parts of the planet or on Halloween. We all know about that. Now it's just plain old becoming thin. And our abilities and our skills are waking up. So you see, a system like the Anastasi system of psychic development helps you to speed the development of that skill, but it also teaches you to have the control over it. And I think that in your dream, the person crossing into the physical was your guides letting you know that the spirit world is reaching to you, just as you are reaching to it. And here, I'm not just talking about people who've passed over. I'm talking about this world of energy that we live in. We, imagine being able to connect to people without using the internet. Be able to just do it thought to thought. See, I believe that day is not that far away. I think we're going to be doing that, okay? And I think we're just at the baby part of this journey. We're just crawling. We haven't learned to stand yet. But, the vibration is speeding up. We're getting there. The spirit world and the physical world are building a bridge. That's what I think your dream was all about. How does that resonate for you? I think you might have lost your microphone because I can't hear you if you're talking.
I actually read that question to you, I believe, Sandy. So
Oh, okay.
we would be waiting for someone to respond in the chat room, and they have not yet.
Okay. Well, maybe if they're not there right now, they'll catch it on the replay, and maybe they can respond, back, online, either on the Facebook group or on the YouTube channel, because I am curious how that resonates, because I really think that was an important dream. I think that dream came from your higher self. And thanks for setting me straight, Lisa. And who's
My
next?
pleasure. Now I'm going to read another one out of the chat room. See if I can catch up on some of these. Why is the world opening more lately?
I think I just covered that one. Okay. I think a better question than why is the world opening more. I think the world opening more is part of mankind's evolution. It's part of the evolution of the whole planet that we're on. It just is, and it's time for us to grow and keep up with that, and bear the responsibility of that growth, and learn to control those abilities instead of trying to push them away. The better question is, I think, how to get people to learn that they need to have that control, how to be more aware of your surroundings, how to remember to keep your protections around you, not just physically but energetically. Self-responsibility has a whole lot to do with us moving into the future as a planet and as a race of beings in a way that allows us to do this with peace and with joy in our hearts, and to become the race of very unique beings that we are headed towards becoming. Why is this happening? Because everything in the universe evolves, and we're living at an incredibly amazing time right now. We're watching and seeing this evolution happen. At least I think it's a wonderful time to be alive. It's exciting. So, who's our next questioner?
All right, we're going to call on Rico. Rico, it says you're self-muted. Can you unmute?
Hi, Sandy.
Hi there.
I wanted to get more clarification on how this system might benefit me with the degree in psychology.
Oh, that's very cool. Okay. Boy, can I answer that one. Which part of the journey would you like me to start with? All the way back when I was in New York and I was just developing the system. And back then, psychologists were over here and psychics were over here, and never the twain shall meet, okay? And yet I had 2 or 3 psychologists who would send me their clients to do either an astrology reading or a psychic reading or a combination. And the client would take the cassette tape back to the psychologist with the idea that it could help to direct the psychologist more clearly on where to, the tools are different, where to apply the tools, because psychically you can put your finger on exactly the cause. In psychology, a lot of times you could be, a client comes to you with a particular issue, and you can be chasing that issue for years because it's normal for people to try to hide that issue or the cause of it even from themselves. But psychically, you can get to that root, bam. That's what the psychic can do. What the psychologist can do is apply the tools to heal it. So when you bring those 2 modalities together, wow, that's all I can say is wow. One of the things that I've been very excited about recently, and you might want to check this out, there's a woman, her name is a medical doctor, psychologist. Her name is Judith Orloff. She's written quite a few books now about empathy from the point of view of psychology. And I suspect this lady is also a psychic because she's bringing in tremendous insight and really great suggestions on how empaths can control and live a better and healthier life. And a lot of these things that she's talking about aren't just the psychology tools, they're also the psychic insight. And so back to you, this can help you because it can give you the insight into both sides of it. I should also mention my husband has a PhD in psychology, and the way that we met is he walked into my classroom because he was suddenly having psychic experiences that made no sense to him. And so he began to study what was going on, and a friend of his said, you need to go and study with Sandy Anastasi, and he walked into the class, and today he doesn't practice, he's retired, but today he probably would be able to do all the things that I do, and certainly would be able to bridge them into his psychology field as well. So the difficulty that you would have in putting this to work in your actual field is that you have to couch it in other terminology. I have one student who's currently working on her PhD. She's got a master's in psychology, and she's in private practice in Florida. And what what she has done is to develop her practice around intuition and protection empathically. I mentioned Judith Orloff because that's another person with a doctoral degree in psychology who's managed to get her concepts accepted in the field of psychology. So I would love to see someone who's a psychologist study this material, and I've had many, many psychologists do this, because you folks take it and you take it back into your field, and by doing that, you're able to introduce what I feel is a missing part, a missing component of the field back in. You see, and this is a personal opinion of mine, but psychology was so afraid. You know, it took you guys a long time to become an accepted field, okay, to have the respect and recognition that you deserved. And so psychology is, you know, understandably afraid of the woo-woo that gets associated with things psychic. The thing is that things psychic are a valid part of the psychology world. And so with your learning and insight and understanding, you can bridge that. And when you get clients, like I said to that gal before, who's having these terrible PTSD issues, but guess what? She also has a codependency issue with somebody who's no longer physical. Now we're getting into the woo-woo. And this is why she's no longer able to remember her dreams, and so many skills and abilities she had before have been cut off from her. Now we've got the combination of the psychic and the psychology, and they work brilliantly to be able to help somebody to heal. Did that answer your question?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. Yeah, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. My ex-husband also had a master's in psychology, so obviously I attract psychologists. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. So thank you so much. That was a great question.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
You're very welcome. And Lisa, who's next?
Now we're going to call on Michelle. Michelle, it says you're self-muted. Can you unmute?
Yes, I'm unmuted.
Hello, Michelle.
Hi, how are you, Sandy?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm excited because I get to talk to all of you about my favorite things.
Well, Gianna is, well, she took the psychic development. She took your course. The older she gets, the stronger she is. I don't know really what else, like what is the next step for her? She sees spirit. She talks to spirit. She does so many things. She moves objects. She's got kinetic energy through the roof.
Mhm.
She astro travels. She gets overwhelmed now in stores because she'll say, "Oh my God, this man is telling me that lady in front of us, their anniversary, and buy her a yellow rose, tell her I'm here." And, and of course, she's going to be 11. She tells them she can't do this. She doesn't want people looking at her like she's crazy. She'll go sneak a rose and just give it to them and say, "Hey, happy anniversary." The woman broke down crying. "How did you know?" And she just kind of left it at that. I just don't, she gets very bored. I try going over a lot of things with her, but it's like she's above what I'm re-going over with her. And I just don't know where the next step is because her gifts just keep getting stronger and stronger.
If you were back in the days of the Greek and Egyptian mystery schools, they would not be permitting a pre-adolescent or teenage child up until the hormones have settled out, which would be about 15, 16 years old. Okay, they would not allow that child to be utilizing those skills. Okay, what they would be doing, and I utilize this model in my classes. What they would be doing would be taking that kid and getting her involved, ready for this? She probably is going to hate me for saying it, in sports, in physical exercise, in all kinds of activities that are physically grounding, getting her involved in artwork, because the drawing, the painting will help to focus attention and energy, getting her involved in music, because that will help to develop her ability to connect with energy and sound, but in a safe way. And here's the reason why. I'm going to get a little bit of technical on you right now, and I hope your daughter's listening, because this is important. During the time that children go through puberty, which your daughter's just entering right now, their pineal gland, which is the source of a lot of our psychic energy and certainly our ability to see spirit and work with spirit, okay? That pineal gland enlarges. In fact, it becomes as large as a yogi that has been practicing things like meditation and moving objects and these things for their entire life, okay? Normal people who are pre-adolescent have a pineal gland which is the size of a pea. It's tiny. Adults also have a pineal gland unless they've studied and developed their psychic ability about the size of a pea. But the pineal gland in advanced yogis and in every teenager you ever meet is going to be grown to like that size, like the size of a quarter. And that makes that person very, very open psychically. This is why teenagers are so emotional. It's why they become, I want this and I want that, and they get emotional about one thing after another. It's because of that pineal gland releasing all these additional hormones in addition to the sex hormones coming at the same time. And it makes the teenager very, very vulnerable to all kinds of anything from attacks from the other side to getting enslaved or picked up by something from the other side that's dark. Or in your daughter's case, thank God she has studied things in the light and she has good values and morals, being, just picking up with the emotional intensity that woman online has to have a flower and has to have it right now. And you see, one of the things she's got to learn is that when she's out in the world, she puts all that on neutral. She shuts it down so that it's only available to her as an emergency signal device. The only time she opens it up is when she's actually doing a reading or she's intending to open it up. What your daughter has is this tremendous ability, but no control. And so what she's needing to do is to shut it down to develop the control, but to be very, very aware that until her hormones settle out, like I said, somewhere between 15 and 17, she is at risk. Please let her know. She's a very, my guides are saying she's been studying with you and with other teachers of the system for a while now, and she's very intelligent and she's very bright. And she does want to move on to all these other things, and she will. She'll probably involve herself in the scientific aspect of it. She'll involve herself in studying it and helping other people to develop it. But right now, she needs to be a kid. She needs the physical exercise to put that energy in, the artistic development, the musical development, because that will keep her balanced. She needs to practice chakra meditation that I teach because that will keep her chakras balanced. She needs to practice all the forms of self-defense and keep it balanced. Keep that self-defense, keep that aura safe, because the more powerful she becomes energetically, the more attractive she becomes to something vampiric on the other side. And I'm not saying that to scare you, I'm saying that so that she knows how important it is for her to gain control and to protect herself. Okay?
Okay. Well, she's in chorus, she sings.
Good.
She does all the what we call adult coloring books.
Mm-hmm.
She's got all her special art to do that. She colors beautiful pictures, and she does do gymnastics, and she is into, I always yelled at her to put your shoes on, and she said, no, I need to take my shoes off. That's how she grounds herself. And she hugs the trees.
Yep.
So is that good for her
That's
that
good
she
for her.
is
Yeah. And
taking her shoes off to ground and also with the hugging of the trees?
right. And tell her that right now, what she should be staying away from is mediumship. Only work with her higher self and her guides, because that's part of the internal system of who she is, and study the things in levels 1, 2, and 3. As a matter of fact, when my class takes off on January 22nd, I will have a 15-year-old in that class who is very gifted, much as your daughter is, and she's only going to be going levels 1, 2, and 3. I will not teach her mediumship because I won't put her at risk, and nobody should teach her mediumship. I know, there was a show on psychic children. There have been, all kinds of, wow, these children did this, this, and this. Of course, kids can do all these things. Their pineal gland is wide open, but it also puts them at risk. It's more important that they be kids. And so I applaud you that you're keeping her on track to be a kid and to remember to do all these things for grounding and protecting. And the time is going to come when she's going to be capable of developing and utilizing her skills to do all of these things, plus mediumship if she wants to. And that would be after she's like 17 years old. Okay? When
Okay.
when I think it was when the female hormones have settled out, when she's no longer controlled by her emotions. You got it?
Yes.
That's the key. Okay?
Thank you.
This was an important conversation to have, and I want to thank you for bringing it up, because a lot of people here have children and grandchildren who are very, very gifted. We have so many gifted children in the world today. And we also have a lot of television shows that are constantly promoting the psychic field, and so it gets them to open. What do these kids do? Practice their empathy, practice their telepathy, practice all of the, what I call the lower psychic abilities that help them to live really good, solid, strong lives. But stay away from the mediumship until after puberty's done. Okay?
Well, that's why we didn't let her do the Psychic Kids show, because we just felt it wasn't right. It was more like putting her out there and maybe encouraging her to do more of that.
Yeah.
So we did not allow her to do the Psychic Kids show at all.
And again, I applaud you. I think personally, I think that was a wise decision. I never tell people what to do. And frankly, you don't really know what somebody's spiritual journey they came in for was. You shouldn't be telling people what to do. It's one of the things I teach, by the way. But my own personal feeling, if I had a child, I would want them to develop and do this whole thing in a way that I knew would be safe for them and would produce that very unique and person on the other end of that journey. Believe me, in the lower levels, there is so much work to be done. And incidentally, her moving objects and things like that, that is part of the lower levels. This is all great stuff that she's practicing. The one thing you talked about that I would stay away from was the listening to the spirit and giving the woman the flowers.
Okay, thank you.
That's like a first step in the wrong direction. If a disincarnate spirit can get you to do something for them, what's going to be the next step?
Yes. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good to talk.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. And Lisa, who's next? These are just great questions, folks.
Yeah, I'm going to take another one out of the chat room. How soon after spirit passes over are you able to communicate with them if you're a medium?
That's a wonderful question. The question really shouldn't be worded, are you able to communicate with them if you're a medium? It should be, how soon after they pass over are they able to communicate with anybody? Okay. And of course, if somebody's a medium, either a professional medium or a natural born medium, they happen to, it would make it easier for the spirit to communicate. But realize that not everyone who is born to the other side, I love Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham Hicks, you've heard of him. Esther Hicks says, or Abraham says through Esther, there is no death. You're born here, and then you're born there. And I love that because that's absolutely true. Death is merely a doorway. It's another plane of existence. There is no real death, folks, which is why mediumship is possible at all. So bottom line here, when you're saying how soon after someone passes are they going to be able to communicate? Some people will never be able to communicate. Maybe in their mind, communication between those planes of existence is simply not possible, and so they never will touch bases with anyone again. There could be somebody else who passes over because maybe they've done some work, they've done meditation, or they were very spiritual, they prayed a lot, they believe in the afterlife, and maybe that person crosses over with complete awareness. One minute they close their eyes in the physical, the next minute they open their eyes in the spirit world, and they fully believe in communication. They know it's possible, so they go looking around for someone in the spirit world to give them a hand and tell them how to do it. And that person introduces them to somebody who's got the ability to hear, and that's not necessarily a professional medium. There are a lot of people who have that ability who aren't mediums, and the person says, oh, now I can communicate. And they start to either send dreams to a family member, or they whisper in their ear, or they give them a warm hug. They have 1,000 ways of communicating if they choose to. But then you also have that person who maybe crossed over and didn't have a good end of this life. Either physically or emotionally, they were very stressed when they were in the physical. So when they closed their eyes for the last time, they really wanted a good long rest. They want to go to sleep and stay asleep for a while because they're tired. That person, my friend John Edwards says, it's like they're on the bus. Okay? No telling how long they'll be on the bus. They could be on the bus for a week, a month, a year, but they're probably not going to communicate until they get off the bus and essentially they wake up on the other side and say, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to have my life over here start. So the answer to your question is, it could be any time. It could be immediately, it could be a month later, 3 months later, or it could be never. I usually tell my students that anytime after someone dies, it's not a good idea to do mediumship for one of their relatives for at least 3 months. Part of that is because that 3-month period really gives the spirit on the other side time to adjust to the new life that they have, but also it gives the person who's here in the physical time to adjust to being without them, because the person you're reading for can become so emotional that it sets up a static that almost prevents the spirit from coming through. And even if you're a professional medium, it can still make it very, very difficult to get any information from spirit, even if spirit's there and wants to talk. And I think that about says it. Lisa, who else is there with a question?
Alrighty, I'm going to take another one out of the chat room for Connie. And she said, I often dream that I'm flying. I feel happy when flying in the sky. What does that mean?
Oh, you're not alone. I love flying dreams. When we're dreaming that we're flying, Connie, we're out of the body. We're free of the physical, I'm going to call it shell, this suit that holds our energy in while we're awake. When we sleep, our energy body is able to separate from the physical and go on to the other planes and literally recharge. And so all of us astral travel, and that sensation of flying happens when you're out of the body and you're astral traveling. So yes, do more of it. And somebody earlier had asked the question about, speaking with somebody who's dead in the dream state, and is that real? And I said, of course, and we learn so many things when we're in the dream state. Dreams are great. And one of the things we do in the dream state is we learn to astral travel. We all do it. Everybody does it. And it's one of the ways we all recharge. But when you can start to be aware that you're doing it, you eventually will be able to make a bridge to waking consciousness and do that same flying just when you close your eyes and allow yourself to get lighter and leave the body and go flying while you're still awake. That's possible. That's called astral traveling. Okay, good question. And Lisa, what's the next question? Oh, and by the way, we do teach astral traveling, crystal gazing, automatic writing, working with a pendulum, feeling auras, seeing auras. All these things are a part of the psychic system that we're teaching in the Anastasi system. We teach you, we talked about telepathy, we even teach you a little bit of kinetic mediumship, which is what she was talking about before about her daughter moving things. We even give you the basics of how to do that. All the psychic skills we touch upon, and you get to find out what you have natural abilities for, what comes easily, what doesn't come easily. And it's fun. It's fun and it's safe. So, enough said. Lisa, who's next?
All righty, I'm going to try to read Christy's question. It says, I did a meditation before with another psychic medium, and once we were done, everyone in the group could feel or see something but me. Why is that? I guess there would be no point in taking a course if I feel nothing at all. I would never be able to connect with anyone.
Well, the first thing that I've got to say is that in the 40 years, and really this year, folks, this year, 2020, is my 40th year. Okay, yes, it's a celebration. So in my 40 years of teaching psychic development, I have not ever had a student who came in and left the same way and felt nothing the whole time she or he was there. Haven't had a single one, okay? I have had students who felt and experienced things that made them uncomfortable and decided not to go any further. I've had some students who came in only because they were accompanying a girlfriend and wanted to give her support, and then discovered they had this amazing ability themselves and got a big shock. Okay, I've had some students discover themselves, in other words, but I've never had anybody leave with nothing. Okay, so I can't say that will never happen. I mean, you could be the first, but I certainly don't expect it. 40 years is a long time. I only teach these classes once a year now, live like this. But initially, I was teaching them 3 different classes a week, and I was teaching them all year long. They didn't stop. So if you can only imagine how many people I've directly taught myself, like, in my own classes. And now that we have the teacher training, so we have people teaching this live, as well as online in various parts of the world and the country. We've got more students even, and everybody is getting something. So I don't think you're going to be one of those people who gets nothing out of the class. I can tell you, though, that if you get absolutely nothing, I would ask you to go through level 1, because a lot of times in level 1, a whole lot's happening, but it's so subtle you don't realize it's happening. And then in level 2, it all opens up. So I would ask you to at least hang in there until level 2. And if you still got nothing, we would certainly give you a refund for those 2 levels, for what you didn't, for the rest of the class that you didn't take. Okay? I am not that person. Folks, this is my profession. It's my work. It's how I earn my living as well. So I have to charge. But I'm not that person who is unfeeling and says, wow, you gave me your money. You just went down the black hole and you're never going to see it again. I wouldn't do that to you. Okay? I think Lisa can tell you what the warranty is. You can type it into the chat room. I'm not sure what it is. It's also written in all of my paraphernalia. But I have given people back all parts of the system that they didn't take if they dropped out. But you want to know something? I think that happened like once in 40 years. It's not common because this system gives so much to you. Like I said, if you only want to develop, or if you're not sure if it's for you, just take the lower 3, because that's the development of you. And that's what's going to give you the ability to live a much healthier, happier life in every respect. take levels 4, 5, and 6 if you want to be a channel and a medium. Certainly if you want to be a professional psychic, because then at least you have the exposure to those things, even if they're not your primary psychic tool that you're going to use. But levels 1 through 3, that's for every single person on the planet. Everybody needs those classes. Let me give you an example. Most of us, especially people who are attracted to psychic development, are empathic. Now, most of us don't realize how empathic we are until we start really keeping track of what I call our do-goods. And all of a sudden you start to realize that you were thinking about your girlfriend just before she called. Or, you and your sister showed up at the party wearing the same clothes. How'd that happen? And you start to realize that these things are happening all around you already, that you're already having these things happen. Now, back to your initial question, when you said, what about this teacher teaching these things and everybody got something except you? I would say that, number one, you have a predisposition to think that you don't have the ability. And so you tend to block. Okay, we're going to get past that. That's not a real major issue. Believe it or not, that's not. You also, though, have part of you that's very private. And this is the part of you that's going to really do very, very well studying online and practicing with people, through a Facebook group and online that you don't have to physically see. Because there's a part of you that's so worried about, I'm going to say, performance, that you'll actually shut down before you'll put it out there and try. Let me give you a different example. Back when you were in high school and everybody was trying out for the twirlers or the team that, I can't even think what you call them, the people who rah-rah the football players, and you would have said, oh, what's the point of trying out? I know I'm not going to be able to make it. So you have that tendency to assume that you can't and then shut down and not try. And that's what was showing up in that group. But what's interesting is that when you're online, you put a question in the chat room right now. You ask this question, you see? And that's important. Because when you are talking on the telephone, or when you're online and you don't have to see that person face to face, it gets easier for you when you're practicing in the privacy of your own home, when you're just going through the exercises and then coming to our weekly meeting and saying, hey, Sandy, this didn't happen to me. Can you figure out why? And I'm going to have an answer for you. And then you're going to go back and you're going to practice it in a slightly different way. And you're going to come back and you're going to say, wow, that really worked. You see, there's the difference between the ability to have the support system over time and be able to practice it in a safe space, but also in your own home where you feel safe and comfortable and not exposed. Okay? Not everyone who takes these classes is going to be a professional psychic. Many people have come out of my classes and gone on to be pros. I've graduated professional psychics for 40 years and teachers of the system, etc., etc. So certainly the goal is to become a professional if that's your desire. But I have just as many people who have taken these classes to resolve personal problems, to get over feelings of insecurity, or not being able to manage their empathy, or being able to handle their anger. Oh, it's amazing the things that you get out of studying these classes, because you're going to end up with so much insight into yourself and how your own energy works. So what I'm saying is this is far more than just learning how to read a thought or be able to remote view something. Okay, we include those things too. So the answer to your question is, go ahead and take the class. And if you're getting to level 2 and you're still not getting anything and you're still uncomfortable and this was a mistake, we're going to refund your money. Okay? The important thing is that you get to the point where you realize that you're far more than you think you are. And this class is going to help you to reach that point. And I don't think we're going to be refunding your money, but we'll see. Lisa, who's next?
All righty. We're going to call on Lorena. Lorena, you're unmuted.
Lorena, hello.
I can hardly hear you.
I can hear you now. Okay, go ahead.
So here's my question. They seem to communicate through me in the evening state when I sleep, and they are showing me stuff for year 2030. And they're showing me the portals that I need to open, which I'm already opening, and part of the new world. So I'm a little bit more confused on that because they're telling me that I am a light being for that.
And why is that confusing you?
Because I don't know what class that I need to take as far as to train me so that I can train the lost human beings when the transition is going to happen.
Okay. What's interesting is, and this is going to get a little bit complex, folks. What's happened with Lorraine is that she's been contacted she didn't go out and reach out for this and say, hey, you know, I want to be this person who's going to be a light being opening portals. She was in her dream sleep and has been getting connections from, I think, higher guides. Sometimes, you know, there are beings, the White Brotherhood, Brotherhood of Light. You may have heard those terms from Alice Bailey, a famous writer from the early part of the 19th century, who talked about mankind's evolution. So you've been contacted by higher beings who are asking your help and giving you the instruction on how to open a portal and telling you where to do this. And you have been saying, okay, you feel energetically, you feel good, you don't feel bad, so I will do this. Right now, now that you have the knowledge, I would say, okay, I'm only working with you, and I would start to bring some protections in, and they may have been protecting you up to this point, but I would certainly bring some protections in to make sure that other entities don't decide to jump on the bandwagon and say, hey, this one's a loose cannon, let's grab her, okay? Because believe it or not, as your mind becomes more involved, you become more of a potential victim for being used by something negative. Does that make sense to you? Okay. Initially, when it was just you and the initial guides and you weren't actively seeking to help, you were just doing what they were guiding you to do because it felt safe and right and God guided. Okay. That was safe. But when you start bringing your mind in and saying, well, I need to develop and I need to learn and I need to work and I need to do more, now you put yourself at risk. Okay? So learn protections, put yourself in those protections when you do these things. And remember that if you do take the Anastasi system of psychic development, it's something different. Okay? It shouldn't interfere with your work with the portals and the work that you're doing as a light being. As a matter of fact, as you gain skill and ability and your psychic abilities increase, it might increase your ability to detect and feel what you're doing. Who knows? You might be able to write some books on it. You might be able to really pull the two things together where all of a sudden it makes sense and you can explain what's happening. That would be wonderful. But they are two different things. Two different things.
Okay. Because they're showing me what is going to happen before 2030. And it's not a pretty picture. And I am not afraid of it. Somehow I'm just looking at it from outside, like an ET, so that I can put it to you. So, and I'm literally out of the matrix, and it's hard for me to stay in the matrix and more out of the matrix. I try to just do not talk to them a lot in the daytime, so that way I interact with people. Because now I'm looking at people and I analyze their lives, and I'm like, these people are so stupid.
Yeah, and you cannot form. Pardon me, I don't want to say can't or can, but what I'm suggesting is that you do not form opinions. This is good, this is bad, this one's right, this one's wrong. Again, you don't know. You weren't put here to know someone else's soul journey. You don't know what they're here for. So never judge someone for their opinion or are they left or right, or that's not something you should be judging someone on. it's their journey, and only they know what that journey is.
Yes, everybody's journey. That I have learned the hard way, yes. And everybody has learned the hard way.
Yes, and I think what's happening with you is that your ability, when you're sleeping, you're getting, so I do think you need to take the Anastasi system so you learn how to control it and shut it on and off and use it for what you're using it for, but don't use it out there on the street, okay? Because what's happening...
I literally, when I'm awake, I can feel the downloads in my head.
Yes, and see what's happening is you're getting these skills developed because of what you're doing in your sleep. The skills are starting to develop, and your brain is wanting to take them out there and use them to tell this person their future, or tell this person they need to move off that island, or you want to. And the thing is that there are a lot of ethics and values involved with this. And again, I can lead you to them. I can't tell you what they are because each one of us has our individual set. But for example, if that person is meant to be on an island that doesn't survive what's coming, you should be warning them. If they want to move, they're going to come to you for that reading. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't think I want to do as a reading. I just want to, I know I'm supposed to prepare myself, as they put it to me. I'm supposed to prepare myself that when big plume comes in, I'm supposed to guide the lost humankind that is going to be without direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's how they put it to me.
Yep. They're helping. They're helping, and they've selected you, and you're lucky to be one of their helpers. And the big thing you have to be concerned with is that you don't try to take matters into your own hands and run off into the wild blue yonder with it, thinking you know better than them. Okay.
So on your classes, at what stage you cover that, Sandy? At what stage you cover that?
It's kind of all the way through.
Okay.
Every single stage that we are at, no matter what I'm teaching you the protections for that skill. I'm teaching the values and the ethics and how to use it and how not to use it, how to control it. So each step of the way, this is built. We don't move to the next step until you've got all that material. Then you're on the next step. Just to give you a little insight into how intense this is a very, very intense program. You're going to receive a library. You get access to everything you have is going to be in a library online that you can access on your smartphone, any device at all. It's there. I have an app that you can actually get on and listen to, and that includes the videos and the audios. Each level has each level has a video that comes with it that was a live class that was about 10 hours long. So each level has a 10-hour video. In addition, it has a class like we're doing, an interactive class that's online with all the slides. It's a very detailed slideshow that goes over the same material but highlights the things that are most important. And so you get those that are in the library that you go through in order with the class. You also meet with me once a week where we touch the high points, we practice the things, we address questions just as we are right now. You have a Facebook group and you have a partner that you're going to work with, that you're going to practice with, and that can happen through Skype or telephone or, any form of communication, telephone, FaceTime, however you want to do it. So we're hitting this from so many different points of view. You get it. Okay.
And then after the class, it stays in the system on the app for how long? That way we can review it again.
Yes.
It's a lot to comprehend. It stays on the system?
That's right. And once you have the system, you're going to have this in your library. It's there forever. It doesn't go away. So you can go back and you can re-look it. You can. Oh, and by the way, I didn't mention all the books in the series come with it. It's included. So you can access the book. You can. It's an ebook. You can go and watch the video. A lot of things you actually need to see to be able to see. That 10-hour video for each class is the long form. It's like the webinar is the cliff notes. The video is actually literally watching people work together, seeing how they put their hands when they're feeling auras. It gives you the literal, this is what we're doing. So you get to see it. You get to hear the questions of the people who've gone before. You get to come on with me once a week and ask your own questions and we also are going to do practice work and pointing out what works and what doesn't work. It's intense. And
Okay.
as with
As long as it
anything
stays
else, you know, the
consistent,
more
I
the
think
more
it's
you
good.
put in, the more you're going to get out. So if you really give it your all, I can guarantee you it's going to make this huge difference in your life and in your world, and in a good way.
Well, they make sure that I have nothing to do so that I can concentrate on this, literally.
Yeah. I've had, people will sometimes say to me, Sandy, in fact, I had one of the questions somebody asked me during the week was, I'm going back and forth about which class I should take. I could take this class with somebody else, or this class. One is a healing class I really want to do, and then this class I really want to do. And I think she was kind of, should I take them both at the same time? And it's not that the two modalities wouldn't work at the same time, but unless you really have a lot of time on your hands, I would suggest that in this case, if you're studying the Anastasi system, it should be the only class that you're taking, because it is going to be very time consumptive if you put into it everything that you're going to want to put into it. Now,
It would be like going to work. Okay,
yeah,
I see.
yeah. Now, if you're that person who just wants a 2-hour class or an hour class once a week with me, and you're going to leave the library to atrophy and get to it 3 years from now, then that's not the case. But then you're also not getting everything out of the class that you really should be getting.
I think I'm supposed to, because they literally make sure that all my chapter got ended on November, I'm sorry. That way I can concentrate on the next thing. And I think this is what it is.
Interesting. Okay, so they're sending you to me to learn the skills that you need for your next book.
I already did the portals with you because of the portal and the ley lines, because I see the ley lines on the ground when I walk outside.
Yeah. And by the way, that's one of the things we're going to learn. Remember, everyone's going to have a different level of development because different people are good at different things. But one of the things that I will be teaching you is how to connect with spirit and connect with a client and connect with, 2 or 3 other things at the same time. The client could be thinking about 2 different people. The spirit could be talking about 2 different people. And I'm going to be able to tell you how to follow the lines, those energy lines, to know which one is saying which thing, so that you can separate all of these things.
Yeah, and whether I feel that it comes from far away and the smells that I get from far away.
Yes.
Okay.
Very
okay,
important.
I'm in.
Yep.
I'm in.
Good. Can't wait to
you.
see you. Good.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Lisa,
I'm done.
who's next?
That was our last one.
Oh my. Nobody else? That was a great one to end on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Folks, I hope that you enjoyed this. I am going to be sending you, each one of you is going to get a recording of this session that we've just done. And I'm also going to be posting this on YouTube and probably on Facebook, different places, so that people can get a feel for what the classes are about. That's why I didn't want to use your whole names. So you are going to be able to repeat these questions and go back over them if you have any questions. And certainly, sometimes, hearing questions raises more questions. So both Lisa and I are open to asking your questions. My class begins on the 22nd. I do hope that you're going to be there with me. I don't have all the pricing in front of me. I'm going to ask you to go to my website, and if you click on the Psychic Development Program, it's going to give you right there all of the different prices and what it includes. I do know that there are some early bird specials. And Lisa, I'm going to ask, do you know what any of them are, or should we just direct everybody to the website?
I cannot tell you that clearly. So yeah, it would be better if they're directed.
Website. But go to the website now, okay? Because I know, I think one of those specials is being extended to January 5th. But you need to really go and check, because it can give you a considerable reduction in the cost. People who signed up early bird got, they got extra things with me, coaching sessions and so forth, as well as some price reductions. So check it out right away, just in case you're still going to be able to get that. If you're signing up after that, it's still worth it. It's a great program. It will, I can guarantee you, it will change your life. It'll change your way of looking at the world. And I can also tell you that it's going to surprise you what you get out of it. You know, most people take this program because they have one particular destination in mind, and along the way, they discover so much more about themselves that their whole world begins to shift. And I don't want to say in a bad way, in a way that they're embracing far more of themselves and what they now know that they're really here for. So I think you're going to find it very, very exciting. And I hope to see everybody there because that's my mission. I want every human being on the planet, just like our last caller was helping to open portals, I'm helping to open you. So, folks, hope to see you there. Thank you so much for attending and being here with me this evening. Good night.